Going guys, I'm Sarcastic here. So, it's been kind of a little rough for us, after Nationals. Um, Realistically, like Bobby Sapphire, had his kid, and he's on pretty much daddy duty, outside of work. So like, it's been. And then on my side, I'm down to 2 workers and me between 2 stores that are open 13 days of the week, or 13 combined days, blah blah blah, 6 and 7. So we've found it a little hard at times to kind of really, buckle down on Destiny and think of stuff that would be great for you guys. Things you want to read or see. Well, someone just decided not to put their blinker, but then waved me to go, and I'm like, that seems like a trap. Fucking Yu-Gi-Oh style. Just smash my car. It's a trap. Actually, I guess it's a trap would be fucking Akbar. I know you people love Star Wars. But, so more or less we've just had, oh my god, that's gonna be super bumpy. Sorry guys. We've had kind of difficulty thinking of, what would be stuff you guys want to see, or what kind of videos, or types of decks or theories. With Nationals being over for us and us not having anything to really hard grind for, it's kind of imperative for us to not just pretty much bullshit you guys and give you garbage videos or thoughts on stuff, and we don't really have a driving force without some big event to prepare for. So for the last 6 months, it's been or even last 8 months, it was all right, we've got regionals, then after regionals it's all right, well, we got worlds, and then it was NA champs for Gen Con and Nova, and now it's just none of us are going to any of this stuff. Why are these people beeping? This guy behind me is very angry. Very, very interesting. Angry people driving. So okay, sorry. Back to the thing. So there's really just not much going on for us. We know, other guys are having their nationals going. Belgian nationals is going right now. Good luck to everyone out there. I know War Chat specifically is out there, so good luck, good sir. Someone mentioned before that there was a David that was 4-0, so I hope that was War Chat, because I believe his name is David Francis. I don't know. That's a Steam name. Whatevs. But good luck to you and anybody else that's out there. You guys will get this video. I'll probably just upload this when I'm at work. But that's ongoing right now. They were in round, I think, 6 when I left. So could even be 7 at this point. Star Wars games go fast. I love how Star Wars games go fast. But yeah, so if you guys have thoughts on things you want to hear, good decks that you guys would like to see explored, something with a bunch of promise, feel free to drop drop it down. Don't sit there and tell me 5 battle droids. I hate ignoring people, but I'm gonna ignore you. I've considered 5 battle droid. The only dilemma is that I play a bunch of 5 dice decks, and the 5 dice are just much better than the battle droid dice, and the 30 health almost doesn't matter. I'm fine being at 24 to 26. I have 26 health with Foss, Bazine, Snoke. Why the hell would I want some shitty droids? So just if you've been playing something that seems like it has a lot of potential, but you weren't able to take it to the next step, and you feel like you needed to kind of just drop it because this is the Snoke world, leave us I don't know, even a deck list, the team comp, the theory, and who knows, hopefully we can take a peek at it, work on it or something, and have something to show all of you guys. As far as the theory side is concerned, there's always stuff that people want to learn or understand better, and normally speaking, as us trying to, teach the game, we're the ones that should be doing, the lesson plans, per se. But there comes a time where just think of it as there was a teacher in the school was, 1st through 12th grade. The dilemma is that, like, a lot of the time you're just going to come with, like, a general consensus of information. Here's this, here's that, this is what you need to learn, blah, blah, blah. So, like, if we tighten that up, though, it's still going to be, like, we can't go into, like, crazy advanced metrics unless other people, the people reading it are understanding, or listening, are understanding of what the earlier levels of it are. Like, if we start talking about, all right, here's the math on, trying to do, like, CQA stuff, like, if someone doesn't know how to do the math for just rolling out in general, like, they're going to be like, what? And they'll have no idea what's going on, and then it's just like, yeah, cool concept, bro. As opposed to, like, actually, learning and understanding it. So I think on my side, I'm probably going to try to work on some more math-based theories, or just deck building theories, or even trying to, like, isolate the cards that seem like they could be the most explosive when you kind of look at them. And I've probably got about 20 minutes on this ride. So let's just talk about good cards and what makes them good. Like, sure, we all know that Snoke just blows shit up, but, like, the rationale behind why it does what it does and why it's so good is what I'm going to talk about, and hopefully I can finish by the time I get to work. So, but yeah, in general, if you have thoughts on something, things you want to hear, types of decks, or just breakdowns, so, like, just let us know. Give us a knock, give us a line, drop us a line, give us an idea, heads up, whatever you're thinking, and who knows, maybe it gets done and you'll be happy about it. But alright, so we'll talk about Snoke first. So Snoke's big thing, and I wrote this in the article, but, like, I'm terrible at writing and it's much easier for me to talk, is that he will offset a damage for +2 value. And, like, +2 value for a damage, if it was limited to certain things, would be like, all right, well, that sounds kind of fair. But not each of the die sides is equal. So, like, you obviously can't pump a special or a blank, so those are just useless in this regard. But now, a blank in general you don't want, but a special you might be really happy about, like, the thing here is that, like, all right, well, let's say you have a special side on a character or an upgrade die, and that special side's very good there. It's like, all right, well, that's fine. Well, it's got to be on a character. My apologies. The special's good there. Now, the other sides might be way weaker, like the single disrupt or the single discard limousine. Like, who really wants those? But now, when you introduce Snoke into it, things change immensely, because we were kind of brought up on Destiny as it being 0 cost plus a card equals like 1 shield, or pretty much a resource in very specific conditions. But then we were like, okay, we were also taught that 1 resource plus a card equals like 2 shields or 2 damage, and that we should probably be looking to get from a 2 cost upgrade like 1 damage per round, no pay sides, like not paying for a pay side, 1 damage per round, that we get to use it. So if the thing has redeploy, we get to use it for a long time. So that's where stuff like Hold Up Blaster made really big sense, because it was like, all right, well, for 2 resources I need about 4 damage based on the chart, but I get to use it multiple times. So if you do like a 1-1 round and then a +2 the other round, you've got 3, and you still get to use it for multiple rounds. In theory, if you guys are throwing haymakers at each other, the game's going to slow down once guys die. Provided that you don't just get blown out, you're probably going to the 5th round. So, like, this is only for close games. When you steamroll your opponent, none of that matters, because you're just going to, like, blow through them. So like your overall expectation is to get 4 damage from it, bare minimum. And like you'll be able to use the die over and over, because like the same thing applies where if you grab a resource from holdout twice, then it's finally paid for itself. But then like you were stunted the 2 resources for 2 rounds, so why would you do that? But there's also like the crazy valuations where like, all right, well I want to be able to cast removal or whatever's going on. So like only having 2 resources around gets really tough when you kind of take it at that standard. So now, so like if you'll notice that the really good cards in this game tend to do a resource plus a card for 3. And in this situation, it's normally not 3 damage. It's like the stopping of 3 damage. Like getting additional damage is hard, because if you get more damage, you can kill your opponent's guys. But stopping damage seems relatively reasonable. So Witch Magic in particular. Oh, someone's car got hit. Gotta love accidents. Alright. Oh my god, there's gonna be some crazy accident. Oh shit. Well, so... Oh, Jesus. Alright. I'll give you a quick breakdown on this accident. So here's the rundown. I'm on the highway. This is Sunday. We drive like 65 on the highway. Minimum. On the left side. Anyways, so I didn't see the initial hit. But someone's entire back right side of their bumper got hit, as if it, like, the car just kind of like went off. So it's like, okay. So now these 2 cars were moving over to the side, I think, to switch information. And one of these guys is clearly the person who just cuts in front of people and gives no shits and says, well, I'm in front, you need to stop for me. Yeah, that's probably the one who hit somebody. But so he goes over. Now, we're going 65, so we all had to stop on the left 2 lanes all of a sudden. Like, what just happened? The right 2 lanes are still going 50 at least. So he's just trying to jam in front of people going 50. That could have went real ugly. Like, real ugly. He went in front of one of the lanes. One of the lanes slowed down because the rest of us slowed down, so they had to be like, what the hell's going on? But the people in the far right lane were like, I don't give a fuck. And they're just driving crazy fast. And he just straight up cut in over them to try to pull over, but like wasn't all the way in the breakdown lane that didn't exist. And that person had to absolutely jam on their brake and like stop on a dime. Or someone in that car was probably dying. But yeah, okay. So back to what we were talking about. Sorry, cards. So like Witch Magic. 1 second. Plenty of time. So Witch Magic. The overall theory is that it's going to give you 3 value, but under, you know, very specific situations. And that situation is that you have to wow, my brain's not working now. Jesus. That you have to have a bunch of odds in your deck. You can't really run evens. So it's just like, oh, well, like, there's really one deck where you'll run a bunch of odds, and that's like 1,000 decks. So it's like, okay, well, you know, we now have this one cost that can heal 3, which is pretty broken. We've got Force Illusion. Force Illusion just doesn't give a shit. And this is like, oh, you're a deck that does damage? I'm going to protect my guy. Most of the time, Force Illusion's realistically stopping a 2, maybe a 3. There are times where your opponent has an Ancient Lightsaber, and when you stop a 5, sure, you lost a round's worth of cards, but your opponent is not happy about that, like, at all. Like, I hear people complain all the time, but I don't want to mill over my good cards. It's like, shut the fuck up. The reason being this: if your guy dies, or sorry, in most situations, if your guy dies, you have a severe problem. The dice you're losing from that are way more important than whatever shitty cards you just milled over. Like, well, I lost my ATST and I was going to delve it, or my Planetary Bombardment. You have a bunch of them in the fucking deck. quit your bitching. Well, I lost my Ancient Lightsaber. Sure, Ancient Lightsaber is good, but it doesn't win you the game. And if your dude dies, you might lose the game. So yeah, Force Illusion is ridiculous. But that's fine. Everyone gets to run it because we all run blue, right? Yeah. Anyways. So, but it's overall cards like that that give you kind of increased value that you wouldn't normally get. So, like, back to the spectrum of 1 resource in a card for 2 damage. When it was things like He Doesn't Like You, or Hidden Motive, or Doubt. In the case of Hidden Motive, you're risking it, so it's 0 cost and maybe a 50-50 if you're lucky. It's probably about 33%, but a lot of time you're stopping whatever die it was for at least the short term. Doubt was kind of like a reduction one. Normally speaking, you're doing it to reduce the total damage you're getting, but in the situation where you doubt, let's say like an Ancient Lightsaber, if the 3 or the blank comes up, you stop 3 damage. If it was on a 3, if it comes with the 1, you've limited 2 damage, so you paid 0 in a card to take 1 less damage. 2 less damage. So like that's like amazing. And it's overall cards like those, which is going to always be the ones that we're like always looking at over and over. Suppressive Fire was a big thing I thought was going to be a huge card. After playing it for a while, I realized that it was only very good against very fast decks. So like Cat Snoke would hate to see that shit. Dooku Townsend would absolutely abhor seeing that. Assuming that the Suppressive Fire player is the one with the battlefield control, because of the way you stack the abilities. Like, sure, in theory, if the Townsend rolls out a natural 2, or the Dooku rolls out a 2 or a 3 based on what they have a base side, you're like, alright, well, I'm getting that one. But like, they would fix the die anyways. And like, the 1 resource there is kind of like a big pain in the ass for them, because you get to choose post rollout. But it's hard for slow decks to run it, because you have to get it into the pool. So like, if your opponent has battlefield, they got to roll out prior to you casting it, then you have to waste your first action on that. And like in the situations where like you have a guy that's very close to dying, or you need to actually cast hard mitigation, you know, you lose the ability to do it. Plus, it's only on rollout, so when someone rolls bad, like, do you have to just blow it up there and move on with life? Probably. It's very good in the situation where decks just don't have the available resources, but intend to end with additional cards at the end of the round. So like, if you're playing a hero red deck that wasn't vehicles, and you like often had a card or 2 at the end of the round and no resources, it's great there because you get to preemptively put it down at the end. You've already lost battlefield, and you're prepared going into the next round. Those are the situations that's really good for. But like, the other cards tend to be like amazing. Deflect. When Deflect is good, you know, you're often stopping 2 or 3 damage and then dealing 1 to 2 damage. When you stop 2 and deal 1, you did a 1 for 3. Deflect. Awesome. When you stop a Fang Fighter that's on a 3, you're a dick. But it's awesome. It's even better than awesome, because you did 5. You stopped 3 and dealt 2. And if you get to ever do the ATST showing a 5 and throw for 3, which I have heard happen, you're a hero amongst men, because you did a 1 for 8. 1 card and 1 resource for 8 damage worth. And like, that's where Deflect goes like crazy broken. And like, why it only starts making its way out of decks when ranged isn't the mainstream deck in the format. Since we gained indirect as an additional damage type, ranged not disappeared. It decreased, because a lot of the range dice started going like range, indirect. But all the melee dice stayed like melee. They kind of split it up so that they didn't give ranged more damage sides, but still maintained a damage side that wasn't like a play side or like a modified. In general, I think the game went way too far away from modified sides on their cheaper costing upgrades and like vehicles, and that realistically seems like a huge mistake. TIE Fighters in the new set went back to the modified side. I think it's 1 base ranged plus 2 modified ranged, 2 indirect. It's on a 2 cost support, and that support replaces itself, so it ends up being fine because there's a crazy amount of value there. But in general, like, I think the old format of like 1, 2 for a resource plus 2 was probably the biggest contributor to having games be a bit slower, and like actively setting up your rampant damage. Whereas like now we're just looking at like throwing crazy blows. Like Ezra's lightsaber in set 1 would have been beyond broken. It's pretty much 1, 2, 2, and a shield and a resource. And the same applies to like Luke's Rod. Like they all just seem ridiculous. So like those cards are going to be good. They're already good. They're just not seeing tons of play because of where like melee is in the format. Plus like Shoto's just kind of crunch up Luke's Rod. But Force Misdirection makes Ezra Saber playable or more playable, and it's really just not seeing play for some ungodly reason. But pretty much because Snoke made villains great again. So pretty much, yeah, from like an event type standpoint, you're looking for like a 1 for 3, some sort of, when it comes to like mitigation or whatnot. I drive stick all day, so this hand's always like doing shit. Very simple for me to just continue looking at the road while I have to get over a lane. Alright, but yeah, so like that's the big determining factor when it comes to events. You're really looking for like a 1 for 3 when it comes to that stuff. A lot of time you really just want consistency. So even things like pin down, you're just like, yeah, you know, I'm content. Beguile, I think, was very good in mill because your opponent didn't want to discard or already had no hand. And I think that, like, because mill was big for a while, people were like, oh my god, Beguile's amazing. But it really wasn't. Beguile's a great card, in theory. The dilemma is that the resource cost for decks that don't generate a bunch of resources, i.e. don't have Snoke or Yoda, can't really do that shit. You can't afford it. Mind Trick is very specific, but people will play into it and get blown out. It's very good against, you know, when a character rolls out 5 dice, but it's really bad when you're trying to just stop, you know, one specific die. Someone rolls out 5 dice, and you're going to lose the game if a 3 resolves, and they got a 3 showing, and you Mind Trick, they're going to be like, here's my 3, and here's my other 4 dice. But when you're in stable positioning, like with the damage stuff, and they roll out 5 dice, when you Mind Trick, they have to think about what else they're getting for the rest of the round. So you can just decide to eat 3 dice. I don't know, I saw a Phantom card there for some reason. You could just roll out, you know, you just eat the 3 dice and move on with life. But for the most part, with Mind Trick, you're hoping to eat like 3 minimum dice. And the other hope is to probably eat like 4 damage worth, but you're never going to get like 4 damage off of that. Unless your opponent nut rolls like a bunch of 2s, you're not getting 4 damage off of Mind Trick. What you will get is like 2 damage and an additional die or 2 additional dice. Or a bunch of dice that don't have damage. I've definitely had at times where people split up and it was like, alright, they got 3 damage here, and on this other side they've got like, you know, 2 focus, 2 indirect, and a resource or something like that. Or like, you know, a focus, a 1 damage, and a resource. And I'm like, go away, resource damage, focus. You can keep this 3 damage. I don't care about 3 damage. But this other shit can turn into other stuff, and I don't want to deal with it. So, back to Snoke. So yeah, like Snoke's big thing is that like 1 damage for adding 2 to almost to everything is just much better. So like even in the situation where it's like for a single shield, so let's say you have a Bala has a shield side showing, so you can deal a damage to Bala to get 3 shields. Now, if Snoke's being the one focused down, then that seems great because now you've transferred 1 damage to Bala and you've gained 3 defense on Snoke. If Bala's being the one target focused down, like, then it doesn't feel amazing, but you're still getting like +1 health. Because what's happening is So let's say you go from 8 to 7, and now you gain 3, so you're at a 10. If you had just resolved the shield, you'd be at 9. So, like, in theory, it's a pseudo waste of the Snoke ability, but if it's the only thing available, then it's the only thing available, and you take your positive hour, you can get it. Alright, so, like, the thing about the Snoke ability is that, so there's nothing additional happening. It's not like we discard a card, because if we had to discard a card, like, it makes things much tougher, because, like, the theory is if you've played one card, pitched to reroll once, played a piece of mitigation. When I say played, the first play card was, like, an upgrade or a vehicle or something. You have 2 cards left. So, like, if you need to either cast another mitigation or another reroll or play a second card, you only have that one card left. And people will have discard sides, they've got friends in low places, there's a bunch of different stuff going on. Probes. So, like, the thing that ends up happening there is that let's say we had to discard a card and deal a damage due to the Snoke ability. The 2-character aggro decks would probably still be in a fine place. The 3-character decks would have a bit more difficulty because they're so slow at doing things. And if our plan is to, like, ramp out a bunch of dice and then get rerolls and maneuver around stuff, there's pretty much, if Snoke had to discard a card, it'd be much tougher on me, like, to play the game. Or, like, the deck. I'm not saying the deck dies, because it doesn't. But those types of decks, it'd be harder if they have to discard a card, because there's a lot of scheming going on. You're pretty much going to try to play a card, Snoke a resource, play a second card. You'll have to re-roll, then cast a piece of mitigation in there. So you'll only have 1 left between, like, another re-roll. And you really usually need, like, 2 re-rolls around Snoke. So if they're thinking of a potential fix, that could probably do enough to mess with it without killing the deck. But yeah, like, the trade-off of 1 damage for those stuff is not equivalent. Even, like, damage-wise, it's that I take a damage to deal you 2 more damage. The damage I'm dealing might not even be to your main target. I'm doing the extra direct damage to the target that I wanted. On resources, like, I'll take 4 damage at the beginning of the game to start with 8 extra resources. All day. God damn it. I don't know why this moves so much. But, so, like, yeah, that's realistically what makes Snoke so good. It's just that, like, the 1 damage trade-off isn't relevant to you much. Like, sure, they can kill your sub guys, but, like, Snoke has focus side, so he's realistically fixing the dice to the sides that you want before he does this. I'm going to get max damage on my dice, then I'm going to Snoke it for +2. So even though I give up a Snoke die to show the stuff, like, I've gained enormous value. And, like, me taking a damage to get 2 resources is all day. Like, we play in Rage, for Christ's sakes, to get 0 cost, and I take a damage to get 1 resource. Like, now we're pretty much doing no card, and I take a damage to get, like, 2 resources. Which ends up being great, and it lets us forge stuff and just kind of max value people all the time. So, another character is, like, Dr. Aphra. So now, the thing about Aphra is that she's very specific. She needs a very specific deck. But so does Talzin. But is Talzin bad? No. She's really good. She's even better when she can do her ability all the time. And your opponent can't just eat all your damn resources. So, the thing about Aphra is that, in theory, you're saving, potentially 1 resource around. And you have the additional ability that gives you, when you deal indirect to yourself, you can draw a card. So, like, even if you're just getting 1 per round off of, like, BT, like, that's really good. The big thing is that, like, something like 000 or BT1 or Hailfire with the price reduction realistically makes it just honestly too good. And I'm not saying nerfer, I'm just saying in general, like, it's too good for the value. Like, the 1 cost value market has always pretty much been taken up recently by, like, Dark Council, and or Crystal Ball. And other than that, it was like D817. We got Bam Braces in the Taco decks now. Taco's 1,000 Commandos. And like, the value there for one seems pretty solid. If you get the resource, then you're good to go. It's pure profit. The dilemma ends up being with stuff like Bam Braces is that the one card from your hand is really hard to kind of justify. Paying one to do a disrupt, in theory, is an even trade-off. Paying one for a discard, not so much because it's random. I give up. So that's the big thing. Like, sorry, I had to peek down because I needed to see. So like, that's the big thing. Like, stuff like that for Bam Bracer when that's like not amazing. But we're looking at, I forgot what we were talking about. I was talking about DH and Bam Braces. What the hell costs one? Oh, Afro, okay. So yeah, so it's not like BT is like, alright, well, for one resource we get 1 indirect, 2 indirect, 1 melee, 3 melee for a resource, or a disrupt. I don't remember that last side. I'm pretty sure it's not a discard, and I believe it wasn't a resource. But yeah, so like when you get that for 1, you're like, oh, okay, but it also like brings us both closer to death because we're both taking 1, and you're, as Afra, you're gonna need to draw a card. So then it's like, okay, well, that's fine. And then like 000 is like, all right, well, it's 1, 2 damage, 2 melee for a resource. The dude actually has no blinks. I think it's what, disrupt, shield resource. I just like, dude, I do not remember these sides for the life of me. There might be a discard there. I think there's a discard there. I think it's disrupt, discard, resource. I think there's no shield. But like the thing is that like when you play that for 1, it's just like, wow, that's really good. Like, it's a support, you play slow, but like it's better than the upgrades. And like, this is fine. It's Afra's, you know, thingy. When you play Hailfire Droid for 3, it's just like, whoa, this is much better than ATDP or Fang Fighter. Arc 170 is pretty much better than, just because it has 4 damage sides and a delta damage off of itself. So like it's, and then you have what, the 2 disrupt and a shield. No resource sides again, so it's like, eh. But Afra is very strong at doing that stuff. Like, it's just, it goes proper. It feels good. So like, realistically, you only have those few things in the deck, most likely. Like, you could have Astromech in there if you wanted to get like a 1-cost droid for resources. You could run droid commandos if you wanted like a 3-cost droid that has damage. This guy took us right into the Walgreens, and I almost fucking lost my mind. The street just looked different. I was like, did I go to the wrong place? So yeah, so like Afra's big thing is like, all right, well, she gets the resource thing. On her actual die sides are relatively solid. She has an interesting side that we usually don't see too much, but it's probably like the biggest pain in the ass that ever existed. It's the fucking 2 shield side. The 2 shield side is a big ass pain in the ass because like it's never been given the proper, I guess, weighting, I guess is how I'd say it, because it's not 2 damage. If it was 2 damage, like, you'd be like, oh my god, this fucking die is ridiculous. But like when it's 2 shields, you're like, yeah. But like 2 shields is kind of bonkers. So think of it like this, right? If we were to play He Doesn't Like You on Afra's die showing a blank to eat 2 damage, if Afra's die is instead showing the shield, it is the equivalent to removal. Whatever guy they're targeting, you get to eat the die and put 2 shields on a dude. So when your opponent resolves the 2 damage into that guy, it was like you got removal out of it. So like a 2 shield side is phenomenal at staying alive. You know who else has a 2 shield side who's a dickbag? Dooku. That fucker. So like Dooku's sides are also interesting because I think it's what? 2 melee, 3 melee for a resource, focus, 2 shield, and a resource. That's another phenomenal die. A 2 shield die as like the potential bad sides is pretty amazing. But Aphra actually has some really questionable sides. She had 3 values of 2. One thing. Never have this shit happen again. I lied. It'll happen every fucking time. Alright, so, her thing is 2 indirect, 2 range for a resource, discard, 2 shields and a resource. Like, overall, her die is real solid for 14 points for 2 of them. 11 for 1. 11 for 1's a little tougher, but, like, in that deck that they're running with the Battle Droid, you've got Snoke, so Snoke's getting, like, massive value. And his big thing is that he just wants the damage. He's going to low operate with the resources and play a bunch of zeros and get down the droids cheap and just chuck damage and try to kill you. If you can round 2 kill Snoke, it's very possible that the deck just falls apart. But if they've already built up the BT droid stuff, then you could have issues there because they're still going to have damage coming out. Like you only stopped their focusing and their snoking of extra damage. You didn't really like stop it much of it all. And like one of the big things for the deck is that Bubble Shield will take some of the indirect that they're dealing to themselves. So if they crash landing you, like crash landing plus the Bubble Shield, and Bubble Shield 1 for 3. So if they crash landing you, like they'll just shift it onto the bubble. If they BT, okay, you know, BT, my 1 damage is going on the bubble. You're taking the 1 damage, and now I'm going to deal the damage with the die. If you got 000 going with the additional indirect, you know, one free pings at a time is perfectly fine and grand. And then like you have dangerous maneuver, so that they can dangerous maneuver. They'll shift 2 damage onto the Bubble Shield, draw a card. If 000 is there, you're taking a damage. So like there's a whole synergistic deck there, and they got it. You know, they've pretty much gone and applied the Snoke theory to it, and they just get more damage in. So like they're playing like a small attrition game, with like cheap things. They're not trying to Snoke for resources. They're just trying to increase damage. So every time they Snoke, they've taken 1, but you've taken 2, which is essentially the same application of what they're looking at when BT activates with a 000 out. They've taken 1, you've taken 2. And like, so if they continually take 1 and give you 2 while they're doing their normal stuff, you're slowly dying. And then now they have like the tricks like Relentless Pursuit. And like I'm now at this point talking about Snoke after Battle Droid, in case you couldn't tell. So they got the Relentless Pursuit to nab in sneaky kills under shields and Force Illusions at the end. So like you realistically have to shield kind of early, and it's counterintuitive sometimes, because if you, let's say you have taken out damage and you start throwing shields on guys, or a specific guy, they'll go after a different guy instead. But they're a bunch of indirect damage, so you can always just use those shields. But just something to keep in mind. So that's more or less how the deck operates. And is there an answer? Maybe you probably have to start out as a relatively aggressive deck right off the rip, and just take down Snoke. After Snoke's taken down, like their damage gets decreased a bit, and they no longer have the focus size, so they have to actually re-roll for these shitty dice. Battle Droid is not great at all, but if you Bazine special it, you're kind of okay. And then if it takes 2 damage to just take the damage off the table, you're like, yeah, whatever. But when he gets focused to +2, it feels bad for you. But yeah, so like the deck's working off of this whole like attrition thing, where it's just like, all right, I got my my droids a little cheap in there, and then, you know, I've used these 0 cost things to like reduce damage I'm taking, or put it on guys I don't care about, and then Bubble Shield to like siphon the blow. And then even Climate Array. Climate Array is like terrible by itself, but since you're playing a kamikaze game, it's like, all right, well, I take 2 damage and you take 2 damage. Oh wait, no, I have a Bubble Shield. I'll take 0 damage, put 2 on this Bubble Shield, draw a card, and you take 2 damage, and you're just like, fuck. And then if 000's out, it's like, all right, well, you know, you take 3 damage, and like that would be like the best die in the game if it just always dealt 3 damage to your opponent. Since we're taking 2 at the same time, like there's problems there, but like they're just kamikazing, they're trading with you. So when they get Bubble Shields down, they get to abuse the crap out of it, and it's very helpful to them. Archangel's really there for tempo. we're playing in a Weapon Factory Alpha format. So if they can fast get their dice out and resolve, they can claim and get the battlefield and get usage out of it. And like the scariest part of this entire thing is that if they have Weapon Factory Alpha and they have Aphra, they have a 2-cost Hailfire droid tank. That shit's creepy, man. Like, it was already good for 3 costs. For 2 costs, it's bonkers. And then, the guys over at Arrowbrook are crazy and fucking... They're all about the initial pod racer combo with Hailfire droid tank. But the big thing is that you're doing focus. So if you've already got the sides you want, you've already rerolled using your additional cards, you can max your damage out. So then if you're getting 1 cost for 2 indirect, you're just like, yes, jackpot. And you just kind of repeat that thing over and over again. So, like, that's the overall theory. But I'm going to go for now. I got to get into work. You guys have a good one. Let me know your thoughts. Like I said, tell me if there's something you guys want to hear about, talk about, whatever. I'm thinking about doing like a question and answer or AMA. And I don't know. I like it's hard for me to monologue for some stuff. And like as you see, I just go on tangents and just ride all over the place. But you guys have a good one. Thanks for watching. And deuces.